Yo, so today we're going to be going over the one habit that changed everything. Now you're probably wondering, what is it? Was it sleeping well? Was it going to the gym? Was it no? Especially not sleeping well. I have a horrible sleep schedule. The amount of times I've tried to like wake up on time and I just missed it. I have like a bit of an oversleeping issue, which shall be fixed eventually. But yes, the habits that changed everything, that made everything monumentally better, was tracking. I think I've been over this so many times, but hopefully it hammers into how important it is. Tracking what you eat will change your dieting forever. People talk to me all the time because as someone who's visibly muscular, a lot of people, especially dudes, start conversations with me about like gym. I don't even start. It's like a thing of they talking, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you're very big, bro." I'm like, "Oh yeah, thanks." Then they start telling me their gym stuff, and people tell me a lot about like, "Oh, I've done everything." People talk a lot about I've done everything to lose weight. I've done everything to gain weight. And then when I ask, oh, do you track your stuff? It's always like, no, but I do all this, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I eat so much, I try to eat so much and there's no gains, oh, I eat nothing and there's just no weight loss. But they don't even know that. Like, they don't track what they eat. So they don't actually know whether they're in a surplus or deficit. And that's something for me personally, I had the issue on the other side of if I don't track what I eat, I end up gaining weight because I'll eat more than I think I not even more than I think I do. But it's easier for me to like be eating more when I'm not tracking. Because one, I don't see the number. I don't see like how off from the diet I am. And like two, it's just easier to if you're not like directly confronted with how off you are, with how much you're overindulging, then it's easy to overindulge because it's not like right in front of you. It's similar to how if you what's a good example for this? If you're like not brushing your teeth for whatever reason, right? It's easier for you to like make the change if you look in the mirror and see that your teeth are like now just yellow and crusty. Compared to if you just never look in the mirror, you might never know how bad of an issue it is. Right? It's the same way sometimes you won't realize how much you've fallen off, how bad your diet's been, until you look at a picture of yourself and you're like, whoa, when did I get so fat? Because you haven't been tracking it. It's easy, things are easy to ignore if you're not like directly confronted with it. And that's the one thing that tracking gives you. You're directly confronted with how off you are. Not even that you're off, specifically in numerical form, how off from your diet you are, how much more than you want to be eating you are eating, how much less than you think you're eating that you're eating. Why? Because you're tracking, because you know for sure what's going on, because you can see it. It also helps with your decision making skills. The amount of times I've decided not to eat something purely because before eating it, when I was making my decision, I looked at MyFitnessPal. I put in the food, I tracked it in accordance to like the rest of the day, and I was like, yo, if I eat this, I can't have supper. And purely because of that, I didn't eat it because I was like, I'm not willing to not have supper. Or the days where I did decide to have it, well, now I know for sure I can't have supper, and there's no like question of, oh, maybe I can sneak in. Like, no, I know I've reached the limits, or even I've gone above. So the cardio that I do will just put me at maintenance, or just like back to the deficit that I want to be in. So I know for sure I can't eat anything, and there's no like leeway that I can mentally give myself because all of us want to be like light on ourselves. That's why people need accountability partners. Usually, if it's just you, most people don't have the discipline to say no to themselves. But like if you have somewhat of an accountability partner in the numbers, you look at the numbers and you see if you do this, for sure you are setting yourself back in your goals. It's not a question, it's not a maybe, it's not a wishful thinking that maybe my metabolism will be fast enough today to count. No, you can see for sure that the decision you're about to make will detriment your future goals. or your current goals even, then it's easier to be like, whoa, dude, I'm not doing that because I can see that it's not a good thing. You know, going to the gym is all well and good. It's actually great. I don't know why I said it so dismissively. It's actually great going to the gym. It has a lot of health benefits, has a lot of very obvious physical benefits. But it's not very, you don't make as many changes as you'd like to if you're not on top of everything to a reasonable standard. Because people have this weird idea of tracking that like it's this huge endeavor that you need to undertake, and oh, I can't track. You know, I have so much going on that like I don't have the time to track. I don't. It's not that much. You get an app on your phone, and then before you eat, you just put in the words of what you're eating. Oh hell, even the day before, you just like put in, okay, so for breakfast I know I'm gonna have this. For this I'm gonna have this. For this I'm gonna have this. And then it also means that you cut back on things that you didn't think about. Right? Like before I never tracked my oil. I just had like an amount of oil visually speaking that I could put. You know, when I saw how much calories oil gives me, I'm like, yo, let me start tracking my oil. So now whenever I'm cooking, I like put, whenever I'm like making eggs or something, I'll put, I'll take a tablespoon, you know, and measure out the oil and then only then put it in because I didn't realize how much extra calories I'm getting from oil. Everything that I like eat is weighed. I weigh my dinners. Why? Because since I'm tracking, I want to make sure that I'm within the range of where I want to be. It makes achieving your goals so much easier when you can see numerically. Numbers are the most harsh, brutal, like honest metric that you have when it comes to achieving things and tracking things. So when you have a straight metric of how much you on top of it or how much you're off of it, then it's very easy to make the adjustments because you know exactly how much you need to fix or like the area that you need to fix, right? Like let's just say I ate 300 calories over, right? And it's still relatively early in the day. I know that either tomorrow I eat 300 calories less to kind of make up for today, or I just do 300 calories worth of cardio because it's like I'm trying to stay within my ideal range. Or even if I don't do anything particularly to fix it, I know mentally, it's registered mentally that I've messed up by this much. I know for a fact I messed up. Why? Because I tracked the numbers. I didn't have an ickling that I messed up. I didn't have wishful thinking that maybe, you know, I mistracked something. No, I know for sure that I've messed up this much. And that like does something to you mentally because it makes you more, there's a level of like shame because you failed yourself. Right? People like to act like shame is a bad thing, like you should always be proud of yourself, blah blah blah. No, you shouldn't always be proud of yourself. If you don't do something that doesn't, if you do something that disappoints you, disappoints your goals, then you should be disappointed at yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself for failing your own goals. Because like who, if you can't even trust the word of yourself to yourself, then like what value does your word have? That was high key bars. But yeah, like tracking just gives you much needed clarity in terms of like achieving your goals. Even if your goal is just maintenance, it's always good to know that you are maintaining. Because what it happens with a lot of people is that in their mind, when they're not tracking, in their mind they're maintaining, but they don't realize that they're in a slight surplus. And that's how people get fat. People don't get fat of like huge binges where they're like, you know, 1,000 calories over their maintenance every single day. No, that's not how you get fat. How you get fat is that you 200 calories over. You know what's 200 calories? That's like a bit more oil than normal. You know, that's like I don't know, it's like a chocolate that you buy at the store. That's 200 calories. It's just like steady 200 calories every single day. 200, 200, one day you had maintenance, 200, 200, the one day you eat a lot. So maybe you're like 1,000 calories over on that day. And then like Monday you had maintenance, 200, 200. And then people go on that like slow, very gradual weight gain. And then there's the one day where they look at themselves and they've gained 20 pounds, they've gained 9 kgs, and they're like, whoa, where did all this weight come from? It came from you not tracking. It came from you not being cognizant of what you're putting in your body and how much you were putting in your body. And then people start yapping about some, oh yeah, you know, it's because I'm getting older, so my metabolism's slowing down. And, you know, genetics wise, you know, my parents are also fat, so blah, blah, blah. When it's like, no, it has nothing to do with your metabolism or you getting old. It has everything to do with you just not eat, not watching what you're eating, you're not having like a sturdy metric to like consistently track, and something that consistently reminds you to watch what you eat, or at least cognizantly overindulge. Because a lot of people, they overindulge very like absent-mindedly, right? Because lots of overindulging isn't even like straight, having a seconds at a meal. Lots of overindulging is, oh yeah, I'm in the kitchen and I'm talking to someone, and then I just like open the pack of chips and I'm just like idly eating it while talking to them. So I don't even track it. Like mentally speaking, it doesn't register as a meal. So when I think about my day, I don't think about those chips that I like ate while chilling there. But those chips were like a solid 100, 200 calories. And you only know that if you're constantly tracking. So like when you open, or even before you open, you look and it's like, okay, I feel like having these chips. Let me like put it in the numbers. Whoa, dude, 200. Am I willing to have that now? If the answer is yes, then you'll have it, and it just means that 200 you don't have later, but you did it cognizant of the consequences. A lot of people just do it as a background activity. So that's how they gain weight. Same way the other way around. Because people aren't tracking, though they in their mind they have like this idea of how much they eat. This happens a lot with people. Like I get it a lot because a lot of like my friends are starting from like the skinny to try and get muscular, and it's like they have the problem of, in their minds they're like, man, I eat so much, but their eating so much was yesterday. They're like, man, I eat so much all the time, I have all these meals. And it's like, realistically, you look at it, okay, they ate big yesterday. Well, not even, they ate a big supper, right? They had a huge supper, or at least they think it was huge. They were full. And then you look at them throughout the day, they eat like half of their food and give the rest to their friend. They don't have lunch. They just don't eat anything in between. And then they have this big supper and they're like, wow, man, I ate so much yesterday. And then they wake up the next day after that huge supper and they don't eat anything throughout the day just because they don't feel hungry. And then they come telling me why, and I tried everything. This whole bulking thing, it's so hard. I try everything and it just doesn't work, bro. It's just my genetics. My metabolism's just too high. It's impossible for me to get big. And it's like, no, dude, you don't even know that you're trying. Not even you don't. You're not trying everything. You're telling me you eat so much. You don't know how much you eat. You've never looked at how much you eat. You've never seen how much you eat in a day. You just like make guesstimations and then start talking about some, oh yeah, my genetics, my metabolism. Like, no, dude, that's not how it works. If you were eating more than you needed to eat, then you would be gaining weight. If you were eating less than you need to be eating, then you'd be losing weight. Everyone has like this excuse. It's a universal excuse that I hate because it doesn't give you, it takes away all the blame from you. It's just your genetics. You were just born that way. Metabolism, that's purely genetic. You're born that way. What can you do about it? It gives away all responsibility, but also takes away all the power that you as yourself have over what you can do with your body, right? Because the second it's genetics, there's nothing you can do about it. The second you're like, man, just my metabolism, I'm just never meant to be lean. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, that's it. You take away all your power with that statement. And that's why, like, I hate it, and why the, what's called, the tracking, it did so much, changes everything, because it gives you a metric for how much you can change yourself. It's a very physical, very useful metric for how much you can change yourself. You can track how much you are changing yourself day by day. You know how much weight you're going to be losing at the end of the week, which means that if you stay in the diet and in the deficit, you can extrapolate to how much weight you can lose in the next month and the next year if you like, going that long of a cut. But like, people just like choose to be like, oh no, it's just my genetics, bro. It's just never meant to happen. I've tried everything. And everything is, people throw around the word everything. They didn't try everything. They've never once a day in their life tracked their meal. The second you say everything, you need to include tracking your meal. People will say stuff like, oh yeah, calories in, calories out doesn't work. Me, I ate one meal a day and I didn't gain any weight. Oh, me, I ate one meal a day and I didn't lose any weight. So it's like, well, if you track the calories, that one meal was big enough to cover for the rest of your thing. you just didn't track. So in your mind, you're like, wow, this one, I only eat one meal. But it's like the amount of meals doesn't matter, because calories in, calories out, the amount of energy that you use to the energy that you take in. If the meal that you have, the single meal, is big enough to cover the rest of your day, then it was big enough to cover the rest of your day. And no, you're probably not even counting, as I said, the little like snacks along the way. You're just counting, man, I only eat one meal. Forgetting that, on the way home, no, on the way to work, or even at lunch, you had a chocolate, that's 200 calories. You had a soda, that's like 100 calories. In between work, you got another soda, that's another 100 calories. And then, like, on your way home, you pass by, get groceries, get yourself another chocolate. That's 200 calories. You're chilling in the lounge, or you're just like chilling, talking in the kitchen, and you're eating the chips, that's another 100 calories. And then you get to the end of the day and you've eaten like 600 calories over the one meal. Remember, 600 calories is enough to make its own meal, and like a sizable meal at that. So 600 calories, and then you're talking about some, oh yeah, I only eat once a day. Like, no, bro, you eat twice a day, and your like second meal is big enough to is a huge meal, because in your mind, man, I'm so hungry, but it's only one meal, so I should be fine. So yeah, tracking your calories, that is the most it's game changing, tracking your calories. Just because, as I said, it gives you a metric. It's very trackable. It makes your life much easier because you can see where you're messing up or where you're going right. And it makes it easier to make better decisions, because you kind of can review the consequences of your decisions before making them. That's a very special thing that tracking gives you. Unlike other things where you can't really see into the future, tracking allows you to see into your future. You can see how much the decision that you make right now will affect future you. And I think that's unbelievably powerful. So yeah, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment if you have something to say, share the video with your pet mongoose, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.